It sounded completely nonsensical to me. I'd read some short stories over the years and enjoyed a few, but never felt the urge to write any. I knew enough to argue that short stories were a completely different art form from novels, so shouldn't I spend my limited free time refining the thing I wanted to do rather than learning this other thing that honestly seemed kind of boring? Also, I knew that the pay rate for short stories was abysmal. This was in the days when the SFWA acceptable rate for pro-level markets was only 3 cents per word. Remember, one of my goals was utility bill money. Short stories, assuming I sold any, wouldn't even cover the cooking gas. But the instructors at VP made a compelling case. The argument that finally convinced me was simply this: learning to write short fiction would improve my longer fiction. I didn't know whether to believe this or not, but I decided to spend a year finding out. For that year, I subscribed to F&SF and the now defunct Realms of Fantasy, read online markets like Strange Horizons, and joined a writing group. The project didn't go well at first. My first short story was a whopping 17,000 words and had no ending, but I got better. When I started submitting those stories to magazines, I got lots of rejections. My writing group helped me see that rejections are part of writing. We collected them, in fact, and tried to celebrate them along with the acceptances. Then I started getting acceptances, semi-pro markets at first, and then finally, pro sales. And along the way, I learned that short stories were good for my longer form fiction. Writing short stories taught me about the quick hook and the deep character. Shorts gave me space to experiment with unusual plots and story forms, future tense, epistolic format, black characters, which otherwise I would have considered too risky for the lengthy investment of a novel. I started to enjoy writing short fiction for itself and not just as novel practice. And of course, after all those rejections, my emotional skin grew thick as an elephant's. But wait, back up. Yeah, I said black characters. I had done those before in novels I wrote as a teenager, which will never see daylight. But I'd never submitted anything with black characters. Remember how I described the industry circa 2002? Editors and publishers and agents talked a good game back then about being open to all perspectives, as they vaguely termed it, but the proof wasn't in the pudding. To see the truth, all I had to do was open a magazine's table of contents or a publisher's webpage to see how few female or foreign names were in the author list. When I sampled a particular publisher's novels or stories for research, I paid attention to how many or how few characters were described as something other than white. I still wrote black characters into my work because I couldn't stand excluding myself from my own damn fiction. But if the goal was to make money, well, like I said, I didn't expect much. So I lack the words to tell you how powerful a moment it was for my first pro sale, Cloud Dragon Skies, published in Strange Horizons in 2005, to be about a nappy-haired black woman trying to save humanity from its own folly. How Long Till Black Future Month takes its name from an essay that I wrote in 2013. It's not in this collection since I haven't included any essays. You can find it on my website, nkjemisin.com. It's a shameless paean to an Afrofuturist icon, the artist Janelle Monáe, but it's also a meditation on how hard it's been for me to love science fiction and fantasy as a black woman. How much I've had to fight my own internalized racism in addition to that radiating from the fiction and the business. How terrifying it's been to realize no one thinks my people have a future. And how gratifying to finally accept myself and begin spinning the futures I want to see. The stories contained in this volume